And so now off we go, heading up the hillside towards the steep-sided ravine of Gilbeck. Eventually we shall reach the dismantled trackway of the Rosedale Railway and make our way to the windy crossing point at Bloworth. Our return brings us across the infant waters of the River Dove and past the ruins of Middle Heads. The start of our hillside ramble is fairly steep and warms us up in preparation for the wind which is racing across the edge of the moors. This is the sort of walk which will test the fitness of our legs and lungs. Beyond the field gate, a sunken cart track leads us steadily uphill towards the moor edge. As we are gaining ground, the wind is starting to freshen up. This stone wall boundary here marks the limit of the improved pastures. From here on up, we're into the open moorland, and this is the territory of the grouse and the moor sheep. And when we get up onto the Rosedale Railway, we shall need something to keep us a little warmer. These are the dried fronds, winter dried and into spring, of the bracken, and there are no green fronds showing through at the moment. But bracken is a very invasive plant, and there's a continual fight on the moor between the heather and the bracken. It used to be controlled in days gone by. It was cut a little bit for winter bedding, but it's no longer used for that. And nowadays spraying is used to control it. And the medium that they found here, of course, on the moor, that the heather and the bracken grows in, is this nice friable peat. This is Beck Gill, a small moorland stream which is a tributary of the River Dove near the headwaters of the Dale. A gill is a Yorkshire dialect word for a small valley or ravine, and it runs down from a waterfall at the top. And as you can see, it has got a fairly severe drop down here into the bottom. Our walk takes us along the ghostly track bed of the Rosedale Ironstone Railway, and it's from here that we get some superb panoramic views across the moors and down into the Dale. Rosedale is the next valley to the east of Farndale, and the railway was built to take the ironstone across the moors to the blast furnaces of Teesside and Durham. The railway was built in 1861 and continued for almost 70 years until it closed in 1929. And by that time, over 10 million tonnes of iron ore had been hauled across these moors. Walking along the track bed here, you begin to appreciate the distinctive character of the North York moors, its gentle strength and sombre beauty, which comes from the vast panoramas of windswept heather moors. These are the places where you come to discover something of the freedom, wildness and romance of Yorkshire. In times past, men have wrought a hard living from quarrying and mining in some of the remote moors, but now it seems to be a safe haven for wildlife and the hardy breed of Swaledale sheep. It gets a bit blowy up on these moor tops. It's warm and pleasant in the valleys, but there's a cool wind up on the moor, and so you've got to be prepared with a jacket or a warm fleece in preparation. We've reached here at the junction known as Bloorworth Crossing between the Ironstone Railway, which is running across 11 miles of the moors and winds its way round the head of the dales, and the crossing point here is with the old coach road which ran from Kirbymoor side to Stokesley. There was a couple of cottages here. This is a remote and blustery place, and in winter would be quite abandoned with snow on the moors here. There was a couple of cottages here, and of course they would be snowbound in the winter. And we're going to take our road now down on the Rig Road. There's a faint path leads us through the heather, and as Farndale comes into view once again, we pass a line of shooting butts. But on this occasion, the grouse have nothing to fear, as I'm armed with only a backpack. Down in the valley once again, we're sheltered from the wind, and we're on our way down the cart track leading to Middle Heads. This is Middle Heads. There's no one here, hasn't been for 90 years. It's one of these ruined farmhouses, so we'll call in uninvited. Obviously in these remote dales at the end of the 19th century, due to the farm economics, many of them were derelict and turned into ruinous buildings. No front door here, no need to stand on ceremony, don't have to wipe our feet. Let's see what we can find inside this old farmhouse. Now here's a rare sight, not a snake but a slow worm, probably emerging from hibernation. Oh, here we've got the old fireplace. There's a good strong lintel going across there. It's cracked now, but and reaching up onto the fireplace and the chimney up above. In these remote dales, nearly every one of the dales had a hobgoblin or elf. Sometimes they were a good hob and sometimes they were a bad hob. Farndale had a good hob called Elfie, and his fame was recorded in verse, one of which says, "Elfie, little chap, though he were so small, he were big with deeds of kindness, drink to him, yan and all." After this exhilarating walk, we finish on an easy trackway back to Elm House, with a cosy corner in the Farndale pub not too far away. And so we say our farewells to Farndale and give our thanks to all the residents and visitors who took part in our filming. Once again, the spectacular springtime display of wild daffodils is over, and for those who live and work in the Dale, the traffic will return to normal. Even without the daffodils, Farndale is a truly picturesque valley and one that is characteristic of our moorland and dale scenery at its best.